Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? The Philadelphia Flyers beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. The problem is the game doesn't mean a damn thing, but it's still nice to beat Sidney Crosby, to beat Jake Guentzel, to beat Evgeny Malkin. It doesn't matter if the game counted or not. It's still a nice taste, right? It still tastes good, so I'll have it any day of the week. Now, I'm not going to lie. Heading into this, I was afraid of what it was going to look like visually, how it was going to feel as a fan sitting on my couch watching that game, and I was very impressed. Covering the seats was very important to me. When I watch baseball and I see the fly balls going behind home plate, or I see fly balls going left of the foul line, foul pole, or I see a home run, I can't stand there being just empty seats. That is a big-time issue when it comes to the game. Now, I still love baseball, so I'm going to sit down and watch every pitch anyway, but it's still an eyesore. And I think what the NHL did by covering those seats, phenomenal move by them, and also the way that they implemented the crowd noise, great touch. The thing is, this is an exhibition game that it doesn't really matter. And when things intensify and you're talking about postseason play where guys are chirping, guys are hacking each other after the whistle, guys are throwing body checks, brutal hits, it's going to be completely different when it comes to what you can hear on the ice. But for what it is right now, I thought it was solid. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm excited for those moments. I want to hear Travis Konecny, Kevin Hayes chirping at other guys as loud as they possibly can. The thing is, they'll have to bleep it out on the broadcast or awkwardly go silent, and something was said, right? I mean, you saw that through the PGA Tour when they had the no fans and the broadcast where you can hear some of the players, and you've seen that around some of the sports as well. So get used to it, because it's definitely going to happen when you talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs. I promise you, I guarantee it. I bet my savings that that's going to happen a lot of times. But be ready for the ride, because it's going to be fun no matter what. Before we dive into this 3-2 victory in overtime, that's right, 3-2 victory in overtime in a Scott Laughton beauty to seal the deal. This episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power, and with over 20 years of experience in the solar industry, they are home to your solar experts in both residential and commercial projects. They are dedicated to making sure your project is completed easily and properly. They use high-quality materials and trained professionals to get the job done. So make sure you check out their information. It is in the description. All right, so heading into this game, when it comes to the Flyers, I wanted to look at Carter Hart. I wanted to see how he was going to play, and I'm not a big fan of the first goal that he let up. It was a 3-on-2, Jake Guentzel, Sheary, and Sidney Crosby. Obviously, those guys are weapons, right? They're great players, and they know how to score. You had Crosby driving the net. You had Guentzel send over a beautiful dish to Sheary, and he put it in on Carter Hart. I didn't really love the way that puck squeaked through him, but it is what it is. It's early on here. They barely played any hockey in 4.5 months, so a little fluky goal that went in on him. I'm not going to criticize him too much. It wasn't an easy play by any means. When those three guys are coming down on an odd man rush, it's very difficult, but I've seen Carter Hart make those saves, and I know he's going to have to make those saves when we are talking about postseason play and the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, once again, I'm not criticizing the man. I just thought, realistically, he would have that if this wasn't their first game in 4.5 months. I've seen Carter Hart be stellar before, and he's going to have to be when we talk about, really going for that prized possession. No doubt about it. So the Penguins did go up 1-0, but in the first period, you had Sean Couturier show his dad's strength by sitting in the slot, ripping one on net. There was a fluky bounce, bang, gets past Matt Murray. The Flyers tied the hockey game up, and then it was so weird to see Malkin make a mistake like this, but there was, less than a minute left in the first period. He throws a pizza delivery right up the middle. He basically handed Kevin Hayes the biscuit right in the high slot, and then Hayes with a dirty move, he puts it in. in. Beautiful deke past Matt Murray, and the Fly guys took a 2-1 lead. That's the type of stuff that you clean up in these exhibition games. Now, you would think that Malkin is such an elite player that he wouldn't even make those type of mistakes. I don't know what he was trying to do, to send it through the slot to try and find one of his players from the corner. I just feel like a player like Evgeny Malkin should understand to never do that. I mean, literally, you never do that. So, just shocking that even though it's a game that doesn't matter, doesn't mean anything, that he would even try that at all, you know? I mean, that's the kind of stuff when I was playing. Get your ass on the bench, bro. You're not touching the ice again. Damn. But I'll take it for Kevin Hayes. I thought Kevin Hayes had a fantastic game. All over the place in a good way. It looked like he didn't miss a beat. Physicality, speed, vision, had a lot of scoring opportunities. I was very impressed with what I saw out of Kevin Hayes, and I think that he is such a difference maker when it comes to the squad. Not only in the locker room, I think we all can look at Kevin Hayes and say, you are a glue guy, you are a locker room guy, you are the entertainment in the room, you keep the spirit up. We all see that. But from a centerman position, being another center, showing that center depth, helping this team with what is so successful. This team is successful because of the depth, because of how many lines you can roll at guys. There's no legit, insane number one weapon. Yes, Sean Couturier is fantastic, and he really is grooming into a two-way player that is very lethal, and he can shut down opponents while producing. But it's not a Stamkos, it's not an Ovechkin, it's not a Sidney Crosby, it's not a Pastrnak, it's not a Brad Marchand. It's not that type of player. There's no one on the Flyers that are that type of players. That's not a knock on Giroux, Voracek, Couturier, Konecny. It's not a knock on those players. It works. This works. But the power of this team is having successful guys through the top nine and being able to roll that fourth line in there as well. And I think that's what Kevin Hayes gives you. He gives you the ability to have more depth, and he produces as well. You saw him making plays out there. You saw the scoring opportunities left and right. He had one in the overtime period. I thought he was going to be the one to end it. It looked like he went for a 5-hole tuck, but Jari at the time, he was in net. He actually made a really stellar save on there until Travis Konecny. This was so awesome. Travis Konecny in overtime just sends one down to Scott Laughton, who does a mini toey and literally just puts it top shelf where mama hides the cookies. And that was it. That was your game. Now, the Penguins did tie it up in the third period. The third period, essentially, it was all Penguins. It was a play off a face-off, offensive zone draw for the Penguins. They did a great job of getting the puck to the net, rebound, and they ended up scoring to tie the game up 2-2 late in the third. I will say, though, Brian Elliott. So Carter Hart played the first two periods. Brian Elliott played the third period. He was great. I mean, talk about a veteran coming in, knowing his role, and then making sure he makes the most of his opportunity. I'm sure it's tough for any player to put on hold for 4.5 months, but now factor in age. Now factor in an older player as well having to do it, and I think he stepped in there. He was legit A+ in that. He was making big, important saves, and I thought he was actually going to snag the game for the Flyers. The Penguins woke up in the third, and I thought the Flyers were on their heels that time. It wasn't a perfect game by the Flyers. Second period was just kind of back and forth, not too much action. Third period on their heels a bit. It was no perfect game by the Flyers any mean, but I think that's what this Flyers team is all about. Not all of their wins are pretty. If you're a good team, you find ways to win, right? Like, you find ways to win hockey games if you are not on your A game, if you are not having the strongest game as a unit. And from there, I think it really does just show what type of team this team can be. And it looks like they have the proper mentality. It looks like they are still one. And you hear a lot of these players talk about the locker room, and they talk about how this is one of the closest locker rooms that they've ever been in. And you need that. You need to have that type of locker room to be successful. I take that back. I had an argument before where you don't need that locker room. It just helps you get to that level quicker. I know for a fact Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant were not like the Philadelphia Flyers when it comes to being brothers, when it comes to loving one another and going out to battle for each other. Now and when Kobe Bryant was alive, once their careers ended, yes, you embrace it a little bit more, but in their primes, there was clearly a disconnect between the two and arguments between the two, and that's why they separated at the end of the day. So you can be successful without having a close locker room, and there's other examples as well. If you have a talented team, you have a talented team, right? Talent wins when it comes to championships, but it does help when you do have a close room like the Flyers do, and the depth, I just can't get over the depth. Guys like Scott Laughton, right? Guys like Scott Laughton stepping up. I would have never expected Scott Laughton to be producing the way that he is now. He used to be a fourth-line mucker. He used to be a fourth-line grind. And he has really established himself into being this fun, exciting player who's versatile. You can play him in so many different ways. You can put him on different lines. You can put him in different positions. And that is very stellar. When you're looking at the D pairings, they threw extra D-men in there to rotate. And, there were some growing pains for some guys. There were some nice plays for some other guys. It is what it is. I didn't really take too much out of it. I'll relate it to what I've been doing with these Sixers exhibition games. It's fun, but it's really about the mentality, the way it looks. Were they giving you effort? Does it look like they're focused? Does it look like they want to be there? Does it look like they're engaged? And as long as they give you that during an exhibition game, that's all you can really ask for. It doesn't matter the outcome. It doesn't matter if there's some hiccups. There's going to be hiccups. To think that there wouldn't be hiccups during a situation like this, well, then you're just being naive. Of course, there's going to be some moments where you turn the puck over, or, you should have got it deep, or it's a 3-on-2, you try and thread the needle, or you're working on the power play and it doesn't go as smooth as you would like it to be. Absolutely. So you can't rip your hair out about that. I had some people going at me on Twitter when it went to the overtime period and the Flyers let up that goal late in the third. Oh, typical Flyers. Typical Flyers? We're going through a pandemic. They're playing in an empty arena, and they haven't played in 4.5 months. And they have Moose in net, and he only played one period. What is this typical Flyers? What do you mean? If it was typical Flyers, they would have lost in a shootout. They got it done on a breakaway in overtime. Now, for the players' perspective, I talked about the no fans from a fan's perspective, watching from the couch. That's got to be so weird. I played hockey my entire life, and when you play pickup hockey with the guys in the summer, and it's 5-on-5, and it's that game atmosphere like you're playing and there's no fans in there, you get used to it and all, but I can't imagine playing a serious Stanley Cup playoff type game with no one there. With no one there. You score a big time goal. No one's there. And I forget where I heard this conversation from, but it's very interesting. I think it's a perfect way to describe what the difference is between fans and no fans in an atmosphere like this when you're talking about playing for the Stanley Cup. Vegas versus the San Jose Sharks. Remember that big debacle about the 5-minute major where there were so many power play goals scored and that essentially ruined the series and it was a bad call? But the reason why they were able to score so many goals is because once they scored one on that 5-minute major, it continued to come. The wave continued to happen. The fans were there. It was electric. It was so loud you couldn't hear a damn thing. You're on your heels as the PKing team. You can't find a way to settle down. You get that same 5-minute major power play now against the Vegas Golden Knights and the Sharks. Do they still score as many goals? Do they still come back and win the series? I highly doubt it. And that's the difference in having those fans there screaming their faces off, having the rally towels, going nuts. But it is what it is. It's 2020. And there's not much you can do about it, really. If you want to get hockey, if you want to get sports back, this is how it's going to be. And I really do look at Gary Bettman, who clearly gets booed all the time and gets criticized. I look at everyone who made this happen, and I say, to this point, you did a hell of a job. No test, No positive tests, that is. Tests, yes. No positive tests. They got themselves in another country. They got themselves out of the United States, which was the smartest thing to ever do. You know, if I'm other organizations right now, I'm trying to get the hell out of this country as well, because this place is a dumpster fire right now with this COVID-19. But I digress. I don't want to go down that road. Edmonton, Toronto, 2 spots. And they're getting themselves going. Remember, there was a situation where the Tampa Bay Lightning had tests popping up. And then before you knew it, they were back on the ice. They got it. Bang. Snap of the fingers. Figured it out. You do have to tip your cap to the NHL and the NBA. And I would say the MLB, depending on how they handle this Miami Marlins situation. There's a report out there that, maybe the Miami Marlins were not doing what they should have been doing, and that is why things turned out the way that they did. But, that's just the rumor out there. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the Flyers do during this round-robin seeding play. I don't really care, to be honest with you. I think it's important to value health along with conditioning. You need to have both, of course, but I value health. You saw Jake Voracek on the power play rip a shot right into Dumoulin's freaking skate. Dangerous stuff. You could literally get hurt blocking shots in exhibition games. Is that important? No, it's not important. Now, I know all you can do is go out there and play, and if an injury is going to happen, it's going to happen. You can't really prepare yourself for it. Totally understandable. But you do have to weigh health just as much as the conditioning side of things. So if they end up in 4th seed, then they end up in the 4th seed. To be honest with you, I just don't care. They entered it as the 4th seed. So it is what it is. If they get the first, congratulations. Just because they get the first, it doesn't mean they're going to end up with the best matchup for them. The Tampa Bay Lightning, they were rocking and rolling throughout the regular season last year, and they got destroyed by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round. You think if they could have redid it, maybe they picked somebody else to play in the first round? They would have wanted somebody else in the first round if they knew the alternative was to get swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets? Absolutely. So just because you get the first seed, in theory, you get a better matchup with air quotes, but that doesn't always mean that that's the matchup that you're going to win. So it is what it is, man. You just play it as it lies. You play the puck as it lies, and you see what happens. But I can't wait. Seeing Alain Vigneault, seeing the guys, hearing Claude Giroux talk after the game, just seeing the fellas, watching TK skate out there, hearing the story about Oscar Lindblom getting an extension. I mean, that story is unbelievable. It's bonkers. It's emotional. Could you imagine if Oscar Lindblom, let me lay out a scenario for you. Oscar Lindblom scores the game-winning Stanley Cup goal. Stop, I can't handle this. Could you imagine that? That would be ridiculous. That would be beautiful. There's no doubt in my mind that I would absolutely cry if something like that happened. But doesn't it seem like in sports there's always that run, and that run always has that wild story? Could that be the wild story? Whew. I'll have to make sure I write this down. What is today's date? July 28th. Flyers versus Penguins exhibition. 17, 18 minutes in. Just so when it does happen, if it does happen, go back and cut the audio. Cut the clip. Nah, but for real, I'm really excited about this. Just seeing hockey back. Just seeing hockey back is stellar, and you're starting to see these sports all return. Hopefully it goes smooth. I think being in another country, it sounds silly, but it shouldn't be silly. It gives them the best opportunity to actually make sure that they go through with this and they can finish this. Gary Bettman was very, very, very in on making sure somebody is crowned the Stanley Cup champion. Somebody lifts that trophy up at the end, gives it kisses. Imagine what that reaction's going to be like with no fans around, with just a bunch of stuff covering the seats, throwing the gloves up. Imagine what you could hear then. It essentially would probably sound like what happened when Patty Kane scored that goal against Michael Leighton in Game 6 in overtime at the Wells Fargo Center. Broach, why the hell are you bringing this up? I don't know. What is happening? It's been 4.5 months without sports. I'm trying to figure out how to do this again. Why the hell would I bring that up? So let's summarize. Carter Hart, Looked good. Didn't love this goal. I did not love the goal that he allowed, but ultimately, he looked good. He looked cool. He looked calm in net. Brian Elliott, I think it's important to make sure that your veteran backup is juiced and amped up and ready to go as well, and I think he definitely provided that. I liked Claude Giroux. I liked Sean Couturier's game. I love Kevin Hayes. I mean, he clearly stood out to me the most. He was all over the place with these scoring opportunities. He realistically could have scored, 4 goals today. He could have scored 4 goals. Voracek early on had a really good opportunity on Matt Murray. All he had to do was wait just a little bit longer to tuck it around the pad, but Matt Murray had a nice save. The Penguins, interesting story. They were really banged up. Not that I care too much about the Penguins. I'm a diehard Sidney Crosby fan, though. I know. I always mention it because it's reality. He's the greatest hockey player my eyes have ever seen, and you got to appreciate greatness. I love Tom Brady. I love LeBron. I love Serena. I love Sidney Crosby. I love greatness. But going back to the Penguins, Matt Murray's an interesting storyline because you remember Marc-Andre Fleury or him, they went with Matt Murray at the time, thought it was the right pick, not so much anymore, but they were banged up. Guentzel and a ton of other players not available for this Penguins team. And this 4.5-month rest allowed him to get healthy. And he's a scary guy. He can totally make plays. He can score the biscuit. He can snipe. So getting them back, getting all those players back, and specifically Guentzel, it's a game changer for the Penguins. And that could be the difference of them going on a legit run or not. Only time will tell. So let me know your thoughts down below on this game. Flyers-Penguins. Flyers win 3-2 in overtime. No fans. Thought the broadcast was good. I thought the fake fans were good when it comes to the noise. The broadcast pumped in some noise. I thought the seats being covered was good. I was into it. I just questioned the difference from an exhibition game to a playoff game. There were times where guys let up and you don't want to hurt anyone, so you're not really trying to get too intense. It's going to change by 10 times, if not 200 times. 10 times, 200 times. It'll be 200 times more intense than that. Maybe 500. Maybe 1,000. So you'll hear the chirping. You'll hear a lot more. Can't wait for it. I'm intrigued by it. Remember, this episode is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. Their solar program helps eliminate your electric bill completely. They offer flexible financing solutions, such as $0 down. Check out their information. It is in the description. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.